The year is 1971. We're in Virginia, and the tides of change are moving. All public buildings, restaurants, businesses, and schools have been segregated based upon race until this point, and it has become a way of life. But now, the United States Supreme Court has ruled that all public schools should be integrated for the upcoming school year. This makes you uneasy, regardless of your race, because there is such great racial tension in the town. If successful, this integration of public schools would be a great victory for the social justice movement in the United States. Today, I am going to discuss the Disney movie Remember the Titans, which takes place in a scenario very similar to the one previously described. I will discuss the leadership styles of Coach Boone and Coach Yost, different leadership and followership examples, and how Coach Boone addressed the organizational cultural concerns in order to reach the desired state of change for the team. Coach Boone was a very experienced and qualified football coach from South Carolina. He was also a dedicated civil rights activist. He was determined to win football games above all else. And for this reason, I believe he was the right leader for this football team. Their school was integrating, which meant that, of course, their sports teams would be integrating as well. This was bound to cause issues among the students, but especially the All-American white players who were concerned about losing their starting positions in the following school year. Boone had the correct approach that he would play the best player. And it didn't matter what their race was, so this motivated them to all do their best in order to have a position on the team. Coach Boone had a transactional leadership style where he focused on supervising, organizing, and achieving team performance goals. He stated from the very beginning, this is not a democracy, this is a dictatorship, and I am the law. At summer camp, he set the rules from the very beginning that he was the law and that if they messed up in any way, that they were going to run a mile for it. He wanted them to pursue physical excellence while also bonding them as a team, that if they all messed up, they were all going to run a mile. It didn't matter. They were all equal. His background as a civil rights activist was exemplified when he made everyone reseat themselves on the bus as they were getting on the bus to go to camp. He made them separate by offense or defense and then sit next to a player of a different race. Then he informed them that they better get to know one another and become friends because they were sitting next to their roommate for the next 2 weeks. Boone desired more than anything that his players treated each other with respect and saw each other as brothers. As a leader, he treated them exactly the same regardless of the situation, so that he could further establish their equality as people and on the team. One of the most powerful quotes he says in the movie is after he takes the team on a run and they end up stumbling upon the battlegrounds of Gettysburg. He states as they arrive, if we don't come together here on this hallowed ground, then we too will be destroyed. This gives the team some perspective about their current racial struggles and allows them to move past them unified as a team. On the other hand, we have Coach Yost. He was a senior football coach before the school integrated and Coach Boone was hired. He had a strong positive reputation among the community and was a Hall of Fame candidate for his coaching success. He was extremely disappointed, to say the least, about being replaced by Coach Boone in the beginning, and he almost left the program to take a job offer in another high school football program. But later, he decided that it was best that he stay and be the assistant coach in order to support the players which he had been coaching for so many years. Throughout the movie, we see his situational leadership style that is characterized by his compassion, flexibility, and supportive nature. He had a heart for the players, and he wanted to see them succeed, and he wanted to address their issues individually and tactfully, as not to embarrass them, but to give them the tools they needed to improve and become a better player. In a different situation, I can see where this approach would be very effective and useful. But their situation on the Titan football team called for an authoritative leader that treated them all the same, regardless of race, regardless of ability, regardless of any situation. And as Coach Boone later stated when speaking to Yost about how he undermined his authority after a game, he said, "You are just crippling them, now and for life," and explained the importance of treating them all the same and not undermining each other's authority. From these two leaders, I understand how their different leadership styles worked for the good of the Titan football team. Even though Coach Boone's transactional leadership style is effective, I personally would not want to emulate this type of leadership style, but this is due to my character, my personality, and my nature. I find myself leading in a style similar to Coach Yost, as he had a situational leadership style. And I'm more comfortable with leading others based on their current situations and adapting to those needs in order to encourage their success. So for these reasons, I believe that I would tend to lean a little bit more towards situational leadership than authoritative. I just don't see myself being very effective as an authoritative leader. So next, I would like to discuss the types of followers that are seen in the movie according to Kelly's followership model. Towards the end of the movie, we see Gary Batir, and he has established himself as a leader of respectively like the white players. But he approaches Coach Boone after a game, and he asks him about removing Ray from the team for intentionally missing blocks. In this situation, Batir is acting as an effective follower because he is thinking critically and independently about what needs to be done for the overall health of the team. Coach Boone appropriately responds that he can make this decision, but he had to tell Ray about his decision, and he had to support it himself. I believe that this was an appropriate exchange between the leader and the follower because he is allowing his effective leader to also act as his effective follower to also act as a leader and enable change within that organization. As I stated earlier, the current legislation causing racial tension among students presented a very unique and challenging situation for the newly integrated school and Titan football team. In preparation for the season, Coach Boone loaded them all up on the bus to take them away to camp for 2 weeks, where he was prepared to transform the organizational culture of their team. His transactional and authoritative leadership style aided in breaking down all barriers and establishing his authority from the beginning. Then he slowly transformed the way that the players thought about each other after punishing them for ignoring one another. Once he finally exhausted them physically and broke down their mental barriers, the team members were able to realize their similarities and praise their differences, as we saw in the mess hall as they were singing gospel music. I believe that Coach Yost's situational leadership style also aided in this cultural change as he submitted to Boone's authority and set the example for the white players that he previously coached. In conclusion, Boone had a transactional leadership style, and Coach Yost had a situational leadership style. And this transformed all of the players and the organizational culture of the Titan football team. I believe that this is a very good movie to illustrate how different leadership styles can be used to address different situations and inspire a group of people to achieve excellence, and in this case, to have a perfect winning season. Thank you for your time, and this concludes my briefing.